Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, as I've said before, I want to start my Lightbringer series reread. So before we start on the reviews for the reread, let's talk about the magic system. So, as usual, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, the magic system of the Lightbringer series is called Chromaturgy. And this magic system is based on the light spectrum. It goes all the way from sub-red, which is essentially infrared, all the way up to ultraviolet. The magic system officially recognizes 7 colors of this color spectrum. Those are sub-red, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and superviolet. So each one of these colors have a different effect. So someone who can use the ability of chromaturgy is called a drafter. They have to be able to see light in the color that they're able to draft. So say a orange drafter wanted to draft what's called luxin, which is the physical form of the light that they can draft. If they wanted to form some orange luxin, they would need some like glasses that have yellow lens or orange lenses so that they can look at anything and the light that's reflecting into their eyes will be orange so that they can then rip the luxin out of their skin, because when they produce it, it's literally pulled out of their skin and they develop scars on their skin. So it's kind of interesting in that way. So each color has a different effect. So sub-red is almost exactly fire. Because of the way it works, it's basically infrared. So when you're looking for sub-red, you're essentially looking for what is essentially heat signatures. So when you draft that, it's almost pure heat. So it's used really like flamethrowers, like people use it a lot as basically just having pyrokinesis in a way. So red luxin is similar in that it is a very flammable substance, but it is not quite the same as sub-red. It is a goopy red, sticky kind of gel material, and it's often used for like blasting jelly. And it's used for a lot of pyrotechnics and bomb creation. And after red, we have orange luxin. Orange luxin is similar to red in that it is more oily and kind of goopy, not quite solid, but not as nearly as gel-like as red gets. Orange luxin is also completely non-flammable, so it can be used to smother red luxin or sub-red, or put out fires in general. Next, we have yellow luxin. Yellow luxin is also called bright water, because the yellow luxin itself has the ability to recharge other luxin. So the light that it emits is enough to help sustain other colors of luxin. And is also an incredibly difficult luxin type to draft perfectly. Only someone who is a super chromat, who is a person who can see the perfect hue of every color naturally through, just through their eyes, they are the only type of people who can draft perfect yellow luxin. And if you can draft perfect yellow, then it is essentially indestructible. It is the hardest known luxin, and it's like, to my knowledge, there's no way to actually destroy it. So it's a nearly completely indestructible type, but it's very difficult to use and very difficult to get perfect to that indestructible state. After yellow luxin, we have green luxin. Now, green luxin is more solid than yellow, and is far more solid than red or orange. So next we have green luxin, otherwise known as God's wood. It is a more firm, kind of solid type of luxin, also non-flammable. Its material is more rough and spongy, more akin to something like leather or tree bark. When it's created, it's fairly malleable, and the will of the user, much like every other color, is highly dependent on the results of the drafting. So the drafter, the person using the magic, has to have solid will in order to form the luxin in such a way that is most useful for them. And then we have blue luxin. Blue luxin is very solid. It is very smooth and it is very sharp. It's often used to make bladed weapons and spears and spikes and different things like that. The solid form of it has been compared to chalk, because it can be brittle and break down fairly easily depending on how well it's drafted. And last, we have superviolet. Superviolet is called spider silk because it is so thin and pretty much completely invisible to anyone other than the drafter or another super chromat. When this Luxon is drafted, it is very thin and very light, so that's why it's called spider silk. So Superviolet can also be used as a great benefit to someone who can draft multiple colors. Say someone can draft both blue and Superviolet. They can use the Superviolet strands to make like spider silk from them to another person, and then draft some green Luxon or blue Luxon to create spikes or daggers or something and throw them along the lines of the spider silk in order to, to stab someone, to basically use projectile weapon type abilities. So it's a really usable one, more so for people that can draft multiple Luxon, but it's shown in the story to be quite useful on its own. So apart from the 7 standard Luxons, we have 2 rare Luxons. We have Peril Luxon and we have Kai Luxon. Peril is a Luxon that is known to be so low on the spectrum it is below sub-red, and it is actually so rare that it's thought to be mythical, and even when it's ever spoken about, it's considered to be heretical against the religion. So it's very, very rare. Peril is also similar in some ways to X-rays. It's lower on the spectrum than infrared, so it kind of goes into the spectrum of X-rays. So it gives the user the ability to see through people to a degree, and a lot of other small abilities that come from just the idea of X-rays and what that can do. And on the opposite end of that, on the far, far high end of the spectrum, beyond Superviolet, you have Kai. So Kai is fairly rare, so not a lot is known about it, but it is thought to be similar to Peril in that it can be used to see through solid objects. But unlike Peril, in that Peril has a limitation that it can't go through metal, Kai doesn't seem to have that limitation. It can go through metal and bone and flesh and anything, so it can be used as a deadly Luxon type or as a, espionage or information gathering asset. So yeah, that's Chromaturgy. That's my quick little explanation of the magic system for the Lightbringer series, and I really like this magic system. I think it's only second to Brandon Sanderson in its technicality and its complex nature, and its real interesting use of the logic of rules are more interesting than powers, because this magic system is full of rules and full of limitations that I barely even scratched the surface of. We'll talk more about those limitations and cool uses of the abilities when we get to the actual reviews for each of the books. So remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will talk to you all next time. Peace.